Hey there. Today I'm chatting with my mentor, Amy Porterfield, who is launching her state-of-the-art program, Digital Course Academy. And I am making the hard questions today. She gave me an amazing opportunity to ask what you might be thinking, what you might be needing some advice on. And I asked her to put on her beginner's hat and show us how she would turn around a business and start from scratch if she wasn't Amy Porterfield. So this is very exciting. If you're struggling to get started with courses or get traction, stick around. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell. This channel is all about digital businesses and how to grow it properly, okay? Amy, thank you so much for the opportunity to ask you some of the hard questions that my friends on the other side are dying to ask.
Oh my goodness, I'm so happy to do so.
Excellent. We're going to jump right in. I've been, mentored by you for years now, I think since 2018. Wow. And I really chose to talk to you about this beginning, this starting phase, because it's where I think my people are really struggling and they're really stuck. I know that digital courses and marketing has been changing, and it changes, right? It's the nature of things, but changed so much in the past year. So for the people that are just starting out, just brand new, what is your best advice, or where should they focus if they are overwhelmed with all the changes and they're feeling a little bit like they can't catch up?
Okay, great question. The first thing is, when I think about changes over the last year, if I'm thinking about someone who's just starting out, I'm thinking you are so lucky right now. You are in a perfect place to start a business. And here's why. So many people coming out of the pandemic and into kind of their new normal, they've realized that they wanted change. They wanted to do something different. That is very widespread. So it's accepted when people are just starting out and getting things going. It's more welcome than ever. So if you're doing videos and they're pretty simple, or you're kind of stumbling over starting to create content, people are more inviting and accepting. You're in a perfect place, a perfect time to start something new. Now, I can see why it would feel overwhelming. So many different things, so many changes. What do I do? Where do I start? And I subscribe to this idea of zeroing in on one main offer that you want to make, because let's be honest, we all need to make some money. And so that one offer that you could make to add value to somebody's life. Of course, I'm biased. I teach people how to create digital courses because I think, one, it's a perfect offer that you could package up, but I'm not necessarily obsessed with digital courses. I'm obsessed with what they can do for you. So a digital course allows you to get out of that time for money trap, working one-on-one, hitting a ceiling of how much revenue you can make. But a digital course also allows you to have more freedom in your time, your creativity, your financials, working from where you want and how you want to work, because you can decide to turn on that digital course or step back and not launch it for a season. So you get that flexibility. So to go back to your question, where do they start? Let's start with one offer, and let's think about, where does your audience need support and how can you be the solution for them? Let's take out all the other moving parts, because it gets very confusing if you try to do too many things at once.
That's excellent. I think I struggle with that so much, right? We like to be creative, right? Yes. And we like to reinvent the wheel and come up with like our own way to do things. It only keeps you like spinning and spinning. And like, there is a process. I love that about what you do, everything that you do. It's pretty much like, this is the roadmap. Yes. Follow this, get results, and then you go flourish and, do your own thing over it. So I love that, if I could pick from my own story, what that would be like, that moment that I stopped spinning, it's really about focusing on one thing. And you can always change that thing, right? Like, you can always change your course topic. You can always change your offer. But if you don't commit 100% to one thing and make that work with the changes and, going with the flow if you don't have that North Star, right?
Yeah. So true.
You just keep going around and around and like not doing so. So I really appreciate your sharing this. Now, this one is a great question. Like I always wanted to ask you this. So I'm so glad that you gave me this opportunity. But if you lost your business, your name, you're no longer Amy Porterfield, and you had to start from zero, how would your next 4 weeks would look like, or any time frame? How would you do? What would you specifically focus on to get traction, to get back at your, 8-figure business? What would be your first steps? Because I think that one thing I struggle, and I think I even talked to your team last year about, I'm like, but I'm not Amy, like I can't do this. It does that feeling that if you don't have exactly what you have. And I always wanted to ask you secretly, I'm like, if she was in my shoes, what would she do?
That is such a great question. And the first thing I'll say to that question is when I was starting out 12 years ago, no clue what I was doing, I would look at people that have established themselves in the industry and think, but I'm not that person. I can't do it. I'm not so-and-so. And so I get that. I've so been there. What I would do if I were to start over, one, I would get very clear on what my 10% edge is. The 10% edge is, what do I know that other people want to know how I've done it? Where have I gotten results for myself or for clients I've worked with in the past that I could teach how to get those same results on a bigger level? So I would get really clear on my 10% edge. And one of the things that helps you get clear on that is when you do things, whether it's in your personal life or professional life, and when people are like, how did you do that? Or can you give me a rundown? Like, how are you getting those results? Or what are you doing? You lost 100 pounds. How did you do that? Wherever people are asking, how did you do that? That is a potential digital course or any new offer you might want to create. So the first thing I would figure out my 10% edge. But then I would look around and say, who needs this? Who do I want to serve? Who's struggling with something that comes more natural to me or something I've already figured out? So I would get clear on my 10% edge and I'd get clear on who I want to serve. Now, who you want to serve evolves over time. I was working with a student about this and she's like, I'm just not sure I've got my, what we call ideal community, my ideal community figured out. And I call
him my ideal student.
My ideal student. And I'll say, it's taken me years to figure out my ideal student. And each time I focus on it, I get a little bit closer. You won't know who your exact perfect audience is you want to serve until you start serving them. And until you start putting content out there and they tell you if they like it or they don't like it or give you feedback. So you take an educated guess. Who might you want to serve? Let's start serving them and see if what you're creating is going to actually resonate with them. The final thing I'd say is if I was starting out all over again, I would for sure create either a podcast or a video show. And I would be doing that weekly, rain or shine, no matter what. Because I think what's so important is this idea that we need to be putting original content out there on a regular basis. I don't know any entrepreneur in our space that has made it without creating original content. So that's what I do. I'd become a content machine over and over again. And then I'd put together a simple offer.
That's great. This is one thing that I kind of didn't have the time, didn't have the focus. And I'm glad that you talked about it. So many people are frustrated with content, right? But there is a way. And I mean, I've been through, your programs and your teachings, like there is a way to use content to grow your offer, to grow your audience the right way, not just create new things. And this is exactly like when I had no time, if I had the time to go live for 15 minutes on YouTube, yes. That's what was always on the back of my mind is like, instead of trying to hit, 1 million views on
right.
1,000 views, my point was always like, how can I serve this one or two ideal student, or ideal client, right? So you bring people to me and to my offers. It was very strategic, even though I still don't do consistently, but at least like when I do it, I'm really focused on providing value. And I think you taught me that it's like, content just for the sake of content, you can be an influencer if you want, but like, it's not the digital course way, right? Like, it's not the business way. I love that. I love like the step-by-step and how 3 weeks, I think you can do in 3 weeks, probably like all the steps that you had.
Get started right away. Totally agree.
Okay. Okay. You have thousands of students, right? And they all go through very different journeys, paths. They all come from different, areas, and they all move, like you said. Like I moved, my ICA or my ideal, client was one when I started, was more like branding and creatives, trying to do a brand. And now is, digital course creators and digital creators. It all changes and they go through this journey. But if you can name just one quality, one personality trait or mindset that most of your super successful students have or have mastered, right? Sometimes you're never born with it. I don't know anybody that just like overnight or just like, oh yeah, I woke up and I'm perfect for this. We all kind of grow that. What would that be? Like, do you see this thread of like success, right?
I totally agree that I don't think you're born with it. I think it's something that you get a muscle for. You create muscle around this. And the word that comes to me is resilience, because so many of my students have crashed and burned before they end up working with me. Right? They've tried so many different things. It hasn't worked. Some of them come in with like a failed business and now they're starting over, or some of them come in and they tried to launch something and it didn't work. But my favorite students are those that say, okay, Amy, this didn't work. And what do I do now? I love that because now I know they're not giving up. They're going to keep at it 100%. And I do believe that's the only difference between a successful course creator and one that is not successful, a profitable course creator and one that doesn't make money. The profitable one just kept going when it didn't work out in the beginning, because it's so easy to have a launch and expect it to be huge numbers. It's not what you think it's going to be because our expectations are wild and think you're not cut out for it. I know that because that's what I did. I made a whopping $267 on my very first launch, which was a huge failure in my book. And quite honestly, most of my students want to make a whole lot more than that with their first launch. But I made so many mistakes. I didn't have a course that taught me how to do it, which is why I created Digital Course Academy, because I wish I had this course when I was first starting out. But I made all these mistakes. And so thank God I said, okay, that didn't work. I'm not sure why it didn't work. I'll have to figure it out, but let's see if we can do this again. And now I have a multi-million-dollar business, never in my wildest dreams. One more thing I'll say to that, of all my success students, and I have hundreds and hundreds of them that talk about their success, not one of them launched their course and said, this is going to be a success. I'm guaranteed to make great money. 5-figure launch, 6-figure launch. I got it in the bag. I'm the perfect person to teach this and sell it. Never do they say that. What I typically hear is, oh my gosh, I hope someone buys. And it's not just my mom. I hope this works. I have no idea if this will work. I've never done this before. They all doubt themselves, but they do it anyway. And that is that factor, that little nuance or big nuance, but they do it anyway. And so I just want to let anyone know that if you're doubting yourself, so did all of my success students. They did that too, but they just did it anyway.
Absolutely. And I love that we are, in momentum. I've been in momentum like since day one.
You're such a great part of our community. So thank you for that.
I love it. I wish I was, I wish I was showing up more. That's my goal for 2022 is to show up more, and help more. Now that I kind of got that first step done.
Yes, I hear you.
But, it's so important that in momentum, and you go through this with Digital Course Academy, like you talk about, debriefing and getting, one of your biggest kind of philosophies is to relaunch the same thing multiple times, right? It's really speaking to what makes you grow and makes you better at what you do, not just a one hit wonder, like one thing that just happens overnight. And I love that in Momentum, we're focusing too as well in like getting the pearls out of the launch, even if overall it was a mistake, because that's my story. I don't know, like all your students, but very often we cut that journey short because we didn't make it some arbitrary launch number that honestly nobody can tell, right? We have industry standards, but that's worth very little nowadays. Last year was the opposite, right? Like everybody making much more than they were thinking. And then we go to ups and downs and Facebook ads that don't work anymore. So I love that we are focusing a lot about this. Like, this is a journey, and you have to get whatever launch you've done. It has pearls in it. It has things that you can work on and you can build upon. And that's 100% my story. And I think it like is the biggest thing that you taught me over the years is like, don't just, put something aside because you didn't make $10,000, right? That's not how it works. That's not what it is. And I wish I would have done it and internalized that a little bit faster.
I think we all do. And I firmly believe this because I've seen it proven over and over again. If you can make $10,000 on a digital course, you can make $100,000. If you can make $100,000 on a digital course, you can make $500,000. When I was first starting out with my first successful digital course, I made $30,000. And I remember where I was sitting, what I was wearing, what I said to my husband. Like I told him, you will never believe what I just did. I just made $30,000. That was half of his salary as a firefighter at the time. Like in 2 weeks, I made $30,000, half of his salary for an entire year. That's incredible. He looked at me like I had two heads. Like, what are you talking about? And then he asked me if it was legal. I'm like,
what bank did you rob?
Yes. He's like, what are you doing? But then from there, I'm a big believer in not reinventing the wheel, not starting over. Tony Robbins, when I worked for him for so many years, taught me that most strategic and efficient entrepreneurs don't always start from scratch. They find out what's working and they do it over and over again and just make it better. I love starting from the advantage point of this already worked once. Now let's see what I can do with it. So I have my students launch the same course over and over again, just making it better, launching better, course better, all that stuff. So anyway, I launched it again and we made $154,000. So from 30,000 to 154, like, holy cow, what the heck? By the last time we launched that specific course, we made $950,000 with one launch, almost $1 million with one launch. And this was years ago. And so imagine if I made 30,000 and then switched to something new. Maybe it would be successful. It would definitely take me a long time to get it up and running. That's for sure. I was able to launch months later. There's a compounding effect with digital courses. You've just got to stay in the game.
That's great, Amy. Like, I so relate to this journey. And like I said, I think this is a great opportunity for everybody that's watching, because as Corrine in your group always says, is like, you have to hear the same thing probably 4 times to start getting into your, into your head. And I think it's exactly the same for us going through, like, one failure, 2, 3 doesn't really mean that it's always going to be a failure, right? Like, you just need to kind of move around, make things a little bit different and keep moving forward. And then really look like something worked, right? You launched, you got in there. Maybe you didn't get as many students as you wanted, but something worked, and you just need to double down and make it better and go forward.
So true. Yes.
Any final advice, any words that you want, the people that are just starting, they're kind of like getting a little frustrated with the whole, I'm not getting traction. Like, what would you say on top of everything that you already said?
This is the last thing I'd like to add. And that is that we have to start somewhere, meaning we all start with 0 people on our email list. We all start with 0 students in our digital course. We all start with thinking about, do I really have what it takes? We have to normalize all of that as an entrepreneur. You can't look at my business or your business and think like, oh my gosh, they're so much better than me. The only thing we have that's different is we've been doing it longer and we haven't given up. So as long as you don't give up, you'll reach the timing that we've put into this. So you have to start somewhere. And I often think like, what if Walt Disney, never sat down to draw the first mouse? We wouldn't have the most magical place on earth. Or what if Oprah Winfrey thought like, I can't be a Black news anchor on national television. That's not for me. We would never have the magic of Oprah today. Everyone starts from scratch. It's so cliche, but I have to remind people that it's not supposed to be easy in the beginning. It's not supposed to all come together. You typically don't have money rushing in. It's making the decision that you're not going to give up, that you're here to stay. Even if you don't fully believe in yourself yet, you will. So you're here to stay. That's all it takes. Genuinely. I shouldn't say that's all it takes. Obviously, there's hard work and everyone has their own circumstances in life. And some people have it harder than others. That I want to be clear about. But at the core is even people that have had it harder than us have blown us out of the water because they didn't quit. You have to start somewhere and you have to keep going. And that's what I wanted just to share because it comes down to that. So incredibly important.
That's great. And I think it's something that I've, in the past year, we all have been given so much thought, like, the race doesn't start at the same point for everybody, right?
Correct.
It does not. And we have to address that. And as business owners, we have to be smart about what is our own unique advantages and disadvantages, right? And I fell victim of this mentality like, well, I work full time on a corporate job and I have a kid. They don't. That's why they are successful, right? Or that's like, and it did not serve me at all. Like this just kept me away from what I could do, right? And I didn't even remember this. And now that you said, I'm like, yes, we don't start from the same place, right? People that have more difficulty or have bills to pay, like I was fortunate that my husband can, keep food on the table for, a number of months while I was playing with courses and getting it right? So everybody has their own advantages, but is discovering what is your point that I think it moves it farther, right? Use what people are doing that serves you and go with that. I love that.
1,000,000%. Yes.
I love that. Thank you so much for your wise words of advice. I love that you're doing this for people that are still not in your community. I'm sure they will be very, very soon. But like I said, we got to hear those things multiple times. And I hope that we help a lot of people kind of get excited and get, one step ahead of having a successful course that they can call themselves course creators, successful course creators, and a success story in Digital Course Academy. Anything else you want to add? Where should people find you?
Well, thank you so very much for this. And I know that you have a special link that can help people kind of get into this world of digital courses. So I'll let you share your link over me sharing anything, but thank you so much for giving me the time to do this.
That's excellent. Thank you. Yeah. Everybody listening, I am partnering with Amy in her state-of-the-art program, Digital Course Academy, and I'm going to help you guys get traction with Evergreen. So if you want to know more, please visit robertawest.com/DCA, Digital Course Academy, and we'll get you guys into this world the right way, right?
Yes. I love that. Thank you so very much.
So much, Amy. So you just heard from Amy Porterfield how she would turn around a bad situation, how she would start over and get traction. So there's no more excuses. If you're thinking Digital Course Academy is not for me because I don't have $1 million to invest in ads, or, I don't have a huge list, there is no more excuses right now. We're here to help you go through and get the results you want and get started, traction, all that good stuff. There's no more excuses. So if you want to know more, go to robertawest.com/DCA Digital Course Academy. And I have all the details on how you can work with me and Amy to grow your next course. Okay. I'll talk to you soon and bye for now.